Welcome back. President Trump escalated his criticism of political opponents while addressing a crowd of tens of thousands at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. And this was a stark contrast from Erika Kirk, who forgave the man accused of killing her husband during her speech. Joel Payne and Leslie Sanchez are here for a look at the big picture. Joel is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist, and Leslie is a CBS News political analyst and Republican strategist. Happy Monday to you both. Welcome. Leslie, what do you make of that contrast, during what is such an emotionally volatile time for everyone in the country? Is it helpful for the president to rail against so-called enemies and confirm that he, in his words, hates them?
And I thought it was so appropriate. He called Charlie Kirk somebody who he was a missionary with a noble spirit. And I thought the tone in many ways was self-deprecating. He was saying that Charlie, had a better stance and kind of an approach to the left than he did. He resorted to more name calling. It was more his style. But that it caused, I think, a moment of pause and reflection where people could come together. Look, the First Amendment doesn't guarantee political violence. It allows and guarantees your ability to have a vigorous debate without fear. And I think that was what was reminded in the tone. It was very much like a revival, a coming together of this country. And we can spar in a very vigorous way, but there are measures where we all come together as Americans. And I think fundamentally that was the tone yesterday.
And Joel, what do you make of that, on this idea that there is space for vigorous debate and disagreement? What does this moment mean for Democrats and Republicans who are both, some of them, trying to work across party lines and nationally heal somewhat?
Yeah, we're in a moment where I think we're called on to rise above a bit and kind of reach down deep into understanding what it means for advanced citizenship in this country, which means holding a lot of complicated ideas at one time, and it's difficult. I do have a different opinion of the president's remarks than Leslie's. I think that what I heard was a president who used that moment to capitalize on some political advantage, who used it to further divide, to not bring down the temperature, when he, above all other persons, is the most important person to bring down the temperature. I was so deeply appreciative of Erika Kirk sharing her truth and sharing her values with the country, and I desperately wish that folks like Stephen Miller and Donald Trump Jr. and others would take her cue. And that is what is really troubling about this moment, is that the type of leadership that Erika Kirk, spoke voice to yesterday is the type of leadership that we have a president who refuses to engage in, and that is a desperate moment for this democracy.
Well, we are seeing free speech itself being debated. We saw President Trump suggesting Friday it's somehow illegal for him to receive critical news coverage, which every president has suffered through, and Donald Trump himself, as a private citizen, was not above criticizing sitting presidents and their actions. So, Leslie, what responsibility do Republicans have to hold the president accountable here on this point?
There's a balance here, no doubt about that. Republicans don't want to overreach, and Democrats shouldn't want to underreact. And I think that's what the American public's looking for, is the sign that there can be measures to come together, that we can, as you talk about, vigorously debate these issues. Joel and I see that speech fundamentally differently, but we also know that history teaches us that with tragedy comes moments where people can come together, especially in Congress. You saw it after the Kennedy Association and passage of civil rights. After Watergate, they had reforms on ethics and campaign reform. And even after 9/11, Republicans and Democrats agreed on security measures. So there is a long-standing history where we can see this differently, and their criticisms are fair, and that is a historical trend. Presidents don't like to be criticized by the media. But legislatively, this country has risen above, and I think we will do that again.
And Joel, in our last few seconds, are Democrats united on their messaging on this right now?
Yeah, I'll get to that. Here's what we cannot see differently: free speech. It's something that this president promised on the campaign trail and has promised in previous public moments. His political movement has promised. The American people expect. The founders guaranteed. And I was disappointed to hear his attorney general speak so recklessly about speech in ways that would go against the values of Charlie Kirk, that go against the values of Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. I think what Democrats have to do is fearlessly defend the right to free speech, free expression, freedom of assembly, and yes, make sure that as they are expressing those rights, those are done peacefully and in the interest of public safety. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you both bringing respectful debate and disagreement to our program. Joel Payne, Leslie Sanchez, thank you so much.